Sir, center.
So yeah,
I'll have to go back a little bit to, I would say around 2016, when I had, by then I had finished Italy and I had written Agra and I was trying to finance Agra. And while that process was going on, I was thinking about, what to do next, because financing a film, as you know, is a long process. And around that time, we were beginning to see some sort of upheaval in the world of journalism, especially in the world of crime journalism. We all heard about Gauri Lankesh and many other journalists. I mean, there is too long a list actually to name the people, but it all more or less started with Gauri Lankesh. And once that happened, I remember being very, very disturbed with that incident, and I started thinking about what this world entails and what this world is about. So from the outside, the pull was to do a film about the world of crime journalism, but also I felt like most often films that are about this world, they end up being too much about plot, story, किसने क्या किया, ये किया, क्यों किया. But what I, along with my co-writer Ishani Banerjee, when we started discussing this idea, what we started finding really curious was that both of us felt, and the more we did our research and talked to people around, both of us felt that the world is such now that you do not know किसने क्या किया, पता चलना ही बहुत मुश्किल है. It's becoming a very, very foggy world. So that idea started exciting us, that why are films like this not seen through that lens when that is closer to the real world that we live in. And so with that, the idea of exploring a more, troubled, grey, Faustian character piece from the inside, where you look at this journalist as a human being, not just as a journalist जो सुबह उठ के जर्नलिस्ट बन के ऑफिस चला जाता है. हम सब इंसान होते हैं. So we really wanted to see the human side of this guy and set it in this foggy world that we were starting to observe.
Manoj, this is for you. What? Yeah, you are known for the kind of character that you get into when it comes to movie. Want to know, before you said yes to Kanu for this film, you have a lot of friends in journalism. Did you try to touch base with them to understand how the industry work, or what is the life of a journalist?
I have many friends in Delhi. So, particularly what happens that for me, I have been an actor who works in theatre. When I was doing theatre, I had too many journalist friends. For some reason or the other, for some compulsion or the other, the basic compulsion like where am I going to get my next food from? So there used to be one journalist in some publication that used to be our safe bet, going to his office and trying to find food from. Okay, so many, Rajesh Joshi is someone who was very, very active those days, and so many others. So this is the world that I was very much familiar with, and I'm still friends with them. So whenever I go back to Delhi, if I'm having a screening, so most of the audience members are journalists. Okay.
जर्नलिज्म एंड इन्वेस्टिगेटिव जर्नलिज्म दो अलग चीज होती
जी
है.
बिल्कुल.
तो जब आप जर्नलिस्ट से बात कर रहे हैं और आपको रोल मिल रहा है इन्वेस्टिगेटिव जर्नलिस्ट का, तो इसके बारे में कुछ पता लगा आपको?
जी बिल्कुल, जैसा मैंने बताया, राजेश जोशी या उनके तरह के बहुत सारे जो जर्नलिस्ट फ्रेंड्स हैं, उनके साथ ये फिल्म मिलने के बाद मेरी लगातार बात होती रही. और वो किसी भी देखिए, एक जर्नलिस्ट जब स्क्रिप्ट के बारे में सुनता है उसके एक्टर से, तो उसका क्यूरियोसिटी ये होता है कि व्हाट आर वी शोइंग, आर वी गोइंग टू बी ट्रू to the real life, or is it just a mainstream film that we are making about a journalism? Then and many of them were aware about Kanu's first film, and many of them were not aware about it. Some of them who were aware about it, they also knew what kind of film it is going to be, so they were helping me in that direction. But some of them who are not aware about his films, they always took it as as a matter of fun. Oh, to journalist hero banega, so they were always very suspicious or apprehensive about what kind of film we are going to put it up on the screen. But that happens. So you try to get your matter out of them and their experience. For me, every time the one question that I have always asked each and every one, when you are getting out and getting into the field, is it stopping anywhere or not stopping anywhere with the investigative journalists? And they said that, and that was such a fantastic thing that one of the journalist friends said, that a journalist who is doing a regular journalism, for him the day stops. For investigative journalists, it doesn't stop. It may be 12 o'clock, it may be 2 o'clock, it may be, he's sleeping in the daytime or working in the night time. He's getting into an area which he himself is not very much familiar with. He knows about the risk, but he is also someone whose adrenaline also running because of that risk.
Quite interesting. So to ask that question and take it forward, we have Gautam here who has worked as investigative journalist. So can you put some light onto what Manoj is saying? Like, for a regular journalist, the day may get over at 6 or 7 or 10 o'clock or whatever. But for the investigative journalist, that may not be the case. So if you can throw some light on it, and then I can move on.
I do agree, yes, of course. But I would also say it's true about a lot of crime reporting that we do. Crime reporters don't look at the clock, because crime does not look at the clock. And what we also don't realize is that, there was a phase when investigative reporting became synonymous with hidden cameras and hidden mics. And we somewhere lost the sight of the fact that a lot of investigative reporting, and you would know this better than anybody else, is just pounding the pavement, going from office to office, door to door, trying to get access to people, to files, to get a double confirmation, triple confirmation. And then at the end of the day, you reach home, you have no personal life, you are tired, but you still have that one file you got half an hour ago. You have to sit with it because tomorrow there's a reporters meeting in office. And I think that is what has come out very well. I saw the film, and that has come out very well in the film. And I do really admire the fact that it takes away from the entire hidden camera trope and tries to go beyond that, because they will agree, Yesha will agree, that a lot of investigative stuff that we do is like sitting and going on the internet and searching. I remember this one case I was tracking about an Indian who'd gone missing in Kenya, and purely through some internet research techniques, I was able to track down a man, if you remember the man in Kenya who was feeding me all the documents from the Kenyan court. I did not think of it as investigative reporting at that time, but everybody who read that story said it's good investigative reporting. You would retrace this man's movements from Mumbai to Kenya till the time he was allegedly abducted by the police in Kenya, sitting in Mumbai. There are so many sides to it which we don't realize in day-to-day life, but yes, the clock or the time of festivals or occasions or birthdays do not matter in this field.
Yeah, that's mostly what we found in our research also. It's more human intelligence. Human jisko bolte hain, it's more human intelligence than anything else.
I could also just reveal this one little fact that Ishani is a friend, and I was one of the people she met during her research phase.
Yeah,
and the Press Club Terrace is where we met, and you've recreated that quite well in the film, I must say.
Thank you. We spoke at length about that.
So Dave, if you can throw some light about since you started your career at a time when the underworld as such was not active, you missed that opportunity. What Kanu had tried to show and Manoj was looking out for till the end. But can you throw some light about the way you could pursue the kind of cases that you came across at that time?
So the time when I made inroads, or rather entered into the journalism space, that time Mumbai police would say that Mumbai police वालों ने underworld की कमर या पीठ तोड़ दी है. So because I am a 90s born kid, so it's but obvious I want it to come, but no, I can't want crime on the streets for my personal gains. But also at that time there was a new sort of hidden terrorist that was coming up, which we know as the name of cybercrime, because these are faceless criminals who use the help of technology, and an entire cyber hub infrastructure is being created in villages where 10th dropout kids, 11th dropout kids, or much younger than that also. In fact, when I talk to cops now, they say Jamtara is over. Abhi Rajasthan is the new growing Jamtara. So Jharkhand they are done with. True. So I came in at a very interesting time when there was rather a confluence of a lot of street crimes, narcotics related crimes, and the emergence of cyber crime. So I am in a very exciting phase where I also have a lot of other challenging things to do, which is also one very interesting thing I figured out about the Mumbai police is that because I only kept observing, so most of the work is done by the cops who are not in uniform. We know them as detection officials, or in Marathi as they call it, Gunem Prakatikaran Kaksh Adhikari. So most of these people work in the dead end of the police station, where in Mumbai language they say Todpani happens, where all the conviction and confessing of the crime and all of that happens. So I asked them, I said, sir, आप मुझे हर टाइम बुलाते हो मीटिंग के लिए, लेकिन इन्फॉर्म भी नहीं करते हो, आप खुद कहीं मुंबई के बाहर चले जाते हो, तो मसला क्या है? So they're like, देव झारखंड में. I said, हर टाइम पूछता हूँ, वहीं होते हो, क्या है उधर? So that's when I first figured out that Mumbai police is spending a lot of time outside Mumbai to trace these people. And now because cybercrime has massively grown or multiplied manifold, which is why they have a separate cyber wing that has been created, and also at a police station level, the regular detection guys are different now from the newly constituted cyber detection team, which is what I said, IT related
IT
crimes are
related.
growing. So of course they need for that.
So Yasha, you started with television. Now, because Dev and Gautam and myself had the print background, we have the luxury of investigating, working, cross-verifying. But you jumped into an era of breaking news. Now, tell me, when you do that breaking, you have very little time in hand to check whether the source is giving you the correct information, because you also have a chance of libel and defamation suit coming in, and moreover forget about the bamboo that your boss would give you. So if you can throw some light about how challenging your experience was as a television news journalist.
Thank you, sir. So basically, I of course jumped in the crime and the investigative space when I got it in TV. But before that, I spent a couple of years on working in newspaper just like all of you all. So that helped me build my own experience now. Because I know that I come from print, so I have to carry that liability. Of course, defamation, I think as journalists, all of us know, कि अगर defamation notice आया तो तुम कुछ तो सही कर रहे हो, इसलिए defamation notice आया है. So I think all of us have gotten defamation notices, and so have I. But yes, TV is altogether a different ballgame. For an investigative journalist, it takes a lot of time. It will take us months, weeks, and that whole space in TV where there should be a dedicated investigative journalist who would spend weeks and months and not be questioned by their boss, so that they can just be on field, talk to like 10 officers, 20 officers, 100 officers and get those documents. That leeway we do not have in TV anymore. You have to juggle your everyday routine breaking, so much that I have just been giving a breaking on CM and I've come here. So that is how it is for all of us. We juggle that, and then like you've already mentioned, there's no time for us. It's any time in the day. So after that work of yours is where you get in that investigative space. And of course, it's more about cross, like we all of us do, cross check, recheck, whatever. And as of now in today's journalist space, if we know, most of the stories or such investigative pieces are planted so that they can be used for their own benefit. And in that, one needs to really know how you juggle and manage, and how much do you trust that source of yours. How long
you
you
want
trust
to
that.
add something onto it? Yeah.
No, I have a question for
Oh, yeah,
because
yeah,
the discussion is so
So
interesting now.
before I give that opportunity, one of the things that people, especially like and maybe other audience also may have the similar question. This movie Dispatch, is it based on fiction or a biopic or a reality? How do you put that? Like, because when you look upon the movie, you find some similarities, but at the same time you are not revealing too many things. So if you can throw that light, if it is a fiction or if it is a story based on her reality.
I think what we found out very quickly during our writing process was that इस तरह की फिल्म को किसी एक कैरेक्टर या किसी एक इंसान पे बेस करना प्रॉब्लमैटिक होगा, बिकॉज द वर्ल्ड the flux in this world is so huge now, and there are so many stories about so many things that are happening that it will be unfair to do just a one story, because as I said in the beginning, for us very quickly the film became not about the case but about the people inhabiting this universe. So रिसर्च करते करते, इतने सारे लोगों से बात करते करते, it has become an amalgam of everything that is happening around us.
True, true. You wanted to ask.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask all of you this question because it's so interesting. Picking up from what you were asking, that crime journalist ki life kabhi never stops. Now I want to take us in further into that territory where I want to ask you guys, all of you, that at what point do you stop inside a story? You know, how far does every story go to its culmination? Also, because during my research I heard that journalists, crime journalists specifically, end up not doing more stories than they end up doing. So connected to that, and while you're working on a story, do you stop at any point? And if you do, then why and when? And yeah.
Yeah, so please start.
So, like you rightly said, at times, a lot of stories that we pursue, they do not lead you to some place. Like, you could get one bit of information, but there'll be no way you can actually cross-verify that. And then it'll be detrimental in the larger interest to pursue that kind of a story. And some stories like, from your gut that, okay, this is it. And this is where the story ends, and that's how you put it further. Also, I think it's also a lot to do with the editorial requirement. Like, I might have a story in my hand, but then I will require, as a television reporter, to have two victims, like we talk about cybercrime, right? So I would have had to have two victims who will substantiate that story, so that I can show it on air. It's much easier to write, but to show it on air, it's much difficult. So only if I get that two victims, I get that four victims, I get those four lawyers who have that expertise on it, then my story goes further. Otherwise, my story dies down there. Because it may be an absolute amazing story given by one of the officers, given by one of the lead, saying this is what the next generation crime is. You can write it down, but you cannot show it on air. So then how do I do? Then the story dies down there.
Hello.
Yeah, Dev.
Since you asked where to stop, firstly, there can't be a one-size-fits-all approach. Some stories lead you to the end. Some stories you realize that you're hitting a dead end right in the middle only. So, but there can't be a substitute to not trying at all. But of course, as you spend more years in the industry, you also tend to develop a sense of judgment, and you chalk out a mental map. Okay, this story is not worth it. This story, I could really pursue it. There will be some stories which you will realize later that it is rubbing a lot of people the wrong way or the wrong side, for which they will reach out to your top management, owners, editor-in-chiefs, etc. Whatever. So those are also the kind of possibilities. But I'd say personally that I think it's purely based on sense of judgment over the years, because you keep doing stories. So you really know what you as a journalist can also have access to in terms of police officials, bureaucrats, victims. In some cases, some journalists even manage to reach out to the accused who are probably inside the jail or are out on bail, or reach out to their families. So of course there are multiple elements. So even after that kind of hard work, I'd say to not get discouraged if it doesn't really take you anywhere. I mean, even in your case, you might realize that, okay, I'm writing a story, I'm going with the flow, but if I'm not really giving it an interesting end or something worthwhile, then I think creatively it's also going to dissatisfy you. So that's something also that really happens with us as journalists, that sometimes, of course, the end is going to be good, but us process ke dauran maza nahi aaya, and you don't want to be telling yourself that. Of course, you get, because you're a part of that profession, so ultimate happiness will come. But as you are going with the flow, वो तुम एक ड्रैग के तरीके से कर रहे हो, या एकदम मजा लेके आनंद के साथ रोज excitedly you're meeting your new sources, you're talking to people, and there will be days on end where you will also not get nothing out of it. But you also have to have the policy of wait and watch, because this is an entirely wait and watch approach game.
Gautam, how do you look upon this question, what Kanu had? You would have had a different experience altogether of having put that end at somewhere, because you have been working on that investigative stories for a good time, especially the Kenya story, like where you are not in India, you are not in Bombay, and you still have to have, like, because the time changes, the variation. Yeah. So how did you pass through that phase of your journalistic days?
So I'm still in touch with all the sources I made in Kenya, if we are talking about only that case, and we still talk. But Now it's in the court and it's not really going much further. So I'm just waiting. I'm not stopped. But by and large, what I have observed is that the governing factor is reader interest, or the not what they will find interesting, but in terms of their interest being served, in terms of are we informing them about something that they need to know. So you might start an investigation into a story and you might go on for 2 months, and then you may realize that I can go on for 3 months more, but it will take more time, it will take more resources. But at the end of the day, am I doing it for my own ego, or am I drawing a line here saying, okay, I have enough right now to tell the reader that this is what is wrong with the system and you deserve to know. So the filter that a lot of us apply over here is that, okay, itna info hai, 5 people have confirmed it, I've got 1 person on record at least reacting to it, let's put it out. उसके बाद में others might reach out saying कि मेरे साथ भी ये हुआ है and we can take it forward. So sometimes you just have to take a call. So there is, like Dave said, there is no one size fits all solution for this. It's a judgment call. But sometimes the stopping is not strictly voluntary also. It is out of your hand. There was a case in Mumbai. I was with the Hindu at that time when there was a betting racket busted and a very recently big figure was arrested. And I managed to get his photo and some info on his background. I put it out and I wake up to an email from Canada, from freelance investigative journalist. It only has the subject line says you might find this interesting, and there's a photo of this man with another man who's an even larger figure in the betting world in a hotel in Dubai.
Okay.
He's getting some interest.
There is no signature at the end of it. There is only one email ID. It's a Proton mail ID. I have no idea who it is. But I take it to the investigating officer. He confirms it. Okay, yehi wo aadmi hai. And this is the man we are looking at because we know they are in touch. Then I went into who the man is, but nobody was talking. For nearly 2 weeks, nobody was talking till it was conveyed to me that ऊपर से order ये है कि यहाँ तक काफी है, देश के बाहर जाने की जरूरत नहीं. But I still had the photo and I still had the confirmation. So I ran that story. I did put it out that this guy who you think is a Mumbai-based bookie actually has those links abroad. It served the purpose at the time. So, I mean, we're going to come to the phase eventually where we see is there pressure to stop. The pressure is sometimes very subtle.
Yeah.
It's overt and...
But that's also the hint that, you know,
Yeah.
don't cross that thin line. Because it doesn't
hints
directly
are
come and
always
interrupt,
more, like they're subtle, they are not expressed in many words. At the Hindu, if you remember, Josie Joseph had come down with that entire pen drive full of transcripts of intercepts of calls between the underworld and a lot of people who were here in India. And our job was to substantiate every page of those transcripts. A lot of people said, तुम क्यों कर रहे हो ये मत करो, इसमें कोई फायदा नहीं है तुम्हारा. Every day we would go out with one page to confirm, ये मत करो, इसमें मत पढ़ो तुम. Then there were calls to the office, there were legal notices that went on for nearly 2 months. So.
Yeah, so Kanu, since you wanted me to talk about my journalism, according to me, is madness. It's a passion. You need to have the fire in your belly to go extra mile to get the story. Because if you have a story and end of the day you come back to the editor and say like, nahi work out hua, you have to actually cut a sorry figure because you feel guilty about it. End of the day. I had a classic example way back in 2014. A psychiatrist who ran a rehab, he came to me and met me in my office and he was quite disturbed. He told me, Vinod, I have young boys and girls who are coming to my rehab today and there's a new drug in the market. So I was quite interested to know what is this drug about. So he said, a cocaine which would cost you 1,200 rupees for a gram, there's a new one called Mephedrone or Meow Meow, which is for 100 rupees. Now the interesting thing is you can place an order online and it can be delivered directly to your doorstep. So my challenge was when I went and met the Narcotic Control Bureau Joint Director, he said, sorry, we are helpless. I said, why you are helpless? The act is there. You can go and nab these people. He said, we have no such provision under the law where this mephedrone is mentioned. Understand it, it's not opium which is cultivated. It's not opium which is cultivated. This is synthetic drug which is made in the laboratory. And the laboratory could be anywhere. It could be next door. You don't know. But that mephedrone is available. Now understand, narco-terrorism is a concern that most of the law enforcing agencies were having. You don't have to come and carry out a bomb blast or you don't have to carry out a terror act. The best way to erode the country is to target the youth of the country, make them addicted. So unlike a cocaine which will make you to sit in one corner of the room once you take it, and as the impact of the drug comes down, you will be more silent and you may go to sleep. This was completely reverse in Meow Meow or Mephedron. The moment the impact starts coming down in your blood system, you want to have it more. If you don't get it, you turn aggressive. And believe me, you are compelled to steal in the house. You are compelled to visit the red light area because your sexual urges go up. When I met these boys, they were from all affluent families, including girls. All from good families, all were still in college days. And a boy who was in class 7 or 8, on to drugs already, and on Meow Meow. So when I met these people, they had a different story to talk about, and I'm saying like, how can the law enforcing agency say that they're helpless because the provisions are not there in the act? And at the same time, I wrote that article. There were youngsters who were working with good advertising agencies. There were students from good South Bombay colleges who started lying, who were addicted, and they did not know themselves whether they were having cocaine or whether they were having a new drug which is similar to cocaine. Now when the problem started, there were guys who would watch porn throughout the night, throughout the day. They would lock themselves inside the house and the parents would wonder what is happening. Examination results, when it would come, the guys who would otherwise stop the class, they started failing in the examination. They started stealing in the house. They started lying to their parents. And overall health started deteriorating. So luckily, one of my friend who was with the central agency, he was in Delhi and he came down to meet me. He was keen to know what is happening around in the city. So when I expressed my concern about these youth getting addicted and the helplessness of the law enforcing agency because the provisions of law is not there to cover this menace of laboratory drug. And for laboratory drug, believe me Kanu, it's very simple Manoj, you will also agree. आपने सिर्फ molecule change करना है. आपसे बढ़िया जो है ना, if police is working on one angle, those who are running the cartel or the syndicate, they will look out for alternative to come up and crack the business area. So the police will always be helpless when they come, till they come to know what is happening around. And when they know that is happening, they are still helpless because the law do not allow you to take action.
Also, when Mephedron was finally made a banned drug under the Narcotics Act, that amendment was made when we didn't even have field testing kits
Now,
to confirm.
this is very interesting. So when I told you that, like, you know, the guy from central agency had met me, he said like, this is very dangerous, we have never heard of it, so let me put up to the authorities up. At the same time, the government here also took up the case themselves. They also wrote to the center saying that there need to be an enactment in the NDPS Act. Subsequently, we wrote an article in the month of April 2014. Second article was on December 31st because the entire agencies were working as to what to be done if you are getting nabbed under this act. So finally, February first or second week, the center passed an act within NDPS Act, section 3 subclause 1 was introduced wherein Mephedron was made as a banned drug.
I'm sorry to abruptly interrupt, but until then, Mumbai's Mephedron queen, Shashikala Baby Patankar had run riot for almost a decade.
Just imagine.
वो 10 साल उसने दबा के जो MD बेचा है, क्योंकि NDPS एक्ट के तहत ऐसी कोई प्रोविजन नहीं थी. सभी लोग हेल्पलेस थे और MD के नाम पे एक वाइट सब्सटेंस बेचा जा रहा था और लोगों को, बच्चों को प्लेसिबो हो रहा था और वो प्योर भी नहीं था, उसमें ग्लास पार्टिकल्स आ रहे थे. You're supposed to like snort it like in a cocaine format और उसमें लोगों के nostrils फट रहे हैं क्योंकि उसमें भी प्योरिटी नहीं है. लैब से कुछ भी जो भी कचरा आ रहा है वो मिक्सचर करके मार्केट में बच्चों को हुक ऑन करवाने के लिए.
ट्रू देव, लेकिन इसमें नार्को टेररिज्म की जब बात हो रही है तो आप देखिएगा, यू आर गेटिंग ए ज़ॉम्बी इफेक्ट. You are on the middle of the road on your super bike, suddenly like, you know, you feel like a zombie is coming out of the petrol tank.
Illusions, yeah.
Illusions.
But one decade later, things have not changed. I'll say, because you're speaking about synthetic drug. More recently, just a couple of months back, I did a story. I think all of us know about black cocaine now.
Yeah, true.
And black cocaine is another synthetic drug. It cannot be detected anywhere. Which is where, after a couple of rounds of stories by all of us, NCB officers had to get in dogs who could sniff and make the difference. And now we have dark net where all of these synthetic drugs, there's not only black. In my investigation, I found that there's a pink cocaine, there's a green cocaine, there's a yellow cocaine, all of them synthetic drugs. And
We
you'll
will
be
have
delivered
we
them
will
at
we
your
will have a
doorstep.
separate session on drugs and narcotics. Now coming back to the movie and coming back to Manoj, I want you to tell this. As an actor, what are the ethical dilemmas you have had to face in your journey?
Ethical in what sense?
Ethical when it comes to like ये सही हो रहा है कि बॉस आप जा रहे हो प्रिजन के अंदर और किसी को जाके मार रहे हो, या आप जा रहे हो यू आर गोइंग इनटू द एरिया वेयर यू want to go and write about that person.
Right.
Yeah, so ethically,
The whole thing, the Joyce's entire journey in the
Yes.
film, if you look at it, you know, for me it was a when I was reading the script, I was far more conscious and far more apprehensive, far more nervous as to how I'm going to do. Also, I knew one thing, that Kanu Behel is someone who will like to get into the darkest of the area of the character, and I wouldn't say I was prepared for it, but yes, I was in the process of preparing myself much more emotionally and internally for the journey, looking at his own at Kanu's reputation. It was, as you said, put it very rightly, there was an ethical dilemma and the conflict that one was going through. Never once I felt that, what audience will think. I was more worried about the family and the friends, because this is very new for an Indian actor. If you look at it, it's a very, very new thing, and that too for an actor who's already worked for 3 decades in cinema. So that came. I was grappling with that kind of a question,
Yeah.
those kind of apprehension, nervousness, but never once it bothered me so much that I sit with him and I discuss that. It didn't bother me that extent.
Okay.
It was all internal fight that I was fighting with my own self. It never felt necessary to have that discussion with my director because it was not that urgent that I felt.
so Manoj, my next question that comes in is like, do you think there's a comparison that you can differentiate between an actor and a journalist, especially in this movie because you are playing the role of a journalist and an investigative journalist? So if you can throw light on that.
Comparison between the actor and
Actor
the character.
and the character.
And the
Yeah,
character.
absolutely.
I think we are in a country where actors are always mistaken as the character, right? Or the vice versa. And whatever you do on the screen, people don't think that it's the character that he's been playing. They start thinking that he is the same guy and he also has the same kind of a vice or the flaws. So we are still, because we are so much used to watching mainstream cinema and we like mainstream cinema. We are the country who like to say that leave your brain at home and then come and watch the film. And my only question is, why to leave your brain to go anywhere? That's too much of a risk. One thing is that I can't leave my brain outside. That's not possible physically. But also, why should I leave my whole wisdom and intelligence and education that I have worked so hard on, and now you're asking me to leave it behind? No. So in this kind of a country, there is always a chance of being mistaken as the character itself. So there is, people never take this profession as that serious, because of the mainstream dominance. Now look at all the big stars, and look at the followers, how they tweet about them, in favor of them. They start. There is a Twitter gang. Am I right? So there are armies and Twitter gangs really fighting with each other for that particular actor. They never talk about the character that these stars have been playing. So this is that risk is always there. Actually, that is risk that we always do a film with all that risk, that people are going to mistake you as a character.
Kanu, you want to add something? I have a question for you.
Let me tell you one thing.
Please,
I mean, the few of the scenes that I have done. Let me tomorrow, if my audience or the people are offended by any act of mine in real life, they will always start making those scenes viral and telling people that this is what the character of Manoj Bajpayee is. So you are always running risk of that nature, that too in the time of such massive social media spread in the country and the influence of social media.
Yeah, please, if you want
I just
Yeah.
also want to quickly add, because with this whole debate of not being able to separate the actor and character, I think also is a very closely sort of related thing of how audiences feel like if a character is doing something wrong, then the film is doing something wrong. Whereas I think it's really important to separate what the character is in a film and what the film is trying to tell you about that character. Now, for example, in this case, Joy, at no point, I mean, he's a very fallible, very, at times greedy, at times really looking out only for himself. But at no point is the film condoning what the character is doing. So you can have a character that's fallible, that's grey, that's troubled. All of us are in our lives. None of us are perfect. But it's also important to see what is the film trying to say about that character. Is it trying to say this journey might not be worth it, or is it trying to say this journey is worth it? So that clue is also very important to assess an actor, a character, a film, a performance.
Sure. Yeah.
Like both of them very rightly pointed out that the audiences have a tendency to completely ignore the character and base that actor or actress's nature as the one in real life. That's something that happens to us also. I was at the football ground the other day, and just before my match, some friend came to me and he asked me, saying that लॉरेंस बिश्नोई के बारे में क्या लगता है? ऐसे लगने का क्या है, वो अपना काम कर रहे हैं, मैं अपना काम कर रहा हूँ, मुझे पूछ मेरे जीवन में मैं खुश हूँ, क्या चल रहा है? अरे यू वांट टू बेस इट ऑन माय टू वेब लिंक्स एंड रिपोर्ट्स दैट यू रेड एंड यू थिंक कि मैं खुद ही एक वो डिस्टर्ब्ड सोल हूँ. तो the similar dilemma that you guys go through.
Directly want to say you are already a celebrity journalist and people
No.
come asking questions to you. Quite interesting
No,
one.
no,
That's all.
Let
Please,
me
yeah.
add one point to
Yeah.
what Mr. Bahel said about so the journey that you've shown, Joy's journey, and where it ends up, the message it gives out ultimately is something very important. But it's a frequent complaint that all of us also face from the police. Yesha will agree, Dev will agree, Vinod sir will have like decades of experience listening to this complaint from the police saying, तुम लोग लिखते हो क्राइम के बारे में तो वो पढ़ के बाकी लोग सीखते हैं. Which is it's a very frequent and a very I don't know to call it naive or something less polite, but
There's the same debate for films also, right? कि फिल्में बनती हैं इसलिए ये होता है.
and I really want to sit them down and tell them कि सर हम लिखते हैं कि इसने ये गुनाह किया, हम लिखते हैं ये गुनाह है. We mention कि इसको अरेस्ट है, we mention कि इसमें ये सेक्शन है, and if the reader still chooses to take only the modus operandi and not the punishment attached to it, sir, if like a cigarette packet has a warning in bold, फिर भी कोई सिगरेट पीता है तो गलती पीने वाले की होती है. तो यहाँ पर गलती करने वाले की नहीं है, लिखने वाले की क्यों है? It's something that I've
Taking his point clearly in the film, Manoj clearly mentions to Prerna कि I have spoken to the cops. I recollect where in real life it happened where a journalist was talking to the underworld and he got some bamboo from the guy whom he was talking on the other line. And immediately he called up a senior rank officer saying that I got a threat on the call just now. Can you imagine the immediate spontaneous response that the IPS officer had to tell? Who the hell asked you to talk to him? So if you're talking, you are doing it at your risk. Don't come to me. I remember one senior lawyer, there was a court matter going on in a criminal case, and suddenly the police have come to give him escort. So the lawyer was stunned, suddenly why escorts have come to me. So he raised the question to the court saying that I have got escorts. So the court asked why escort to the lawyer. So our police said like, there's a threat perception, we have got specific information that the lawyer may get attacked. So the lawyer proudly says that I represent underworld. So who would attack me? So what happened was, the debate went, there was a sealed envelope put in by the DGP's office to the court. When this person was leaving his house the next morning, there was a gunshot. Gunshot on his vehicle. The lawyer got shit scared. And like any other television journalists, when it comes to breaking news, this is my concern. There was a gangster who took the responsibility, onus on him. He came on live air and the reporter is talking to the gangster. आपने गोली चलाया क्या? हाँ, मेरे लड़के लोगों ने चला दिया. क्यों चलाया? क्योंकि बहुत बोल रहा था. अगली बार कब चलाओगे? You getting what I'm saying? So understand, Makoka do not allow you to aid and abet anybody. You are using a medium to communicate and create a terror and fear in the minds of common people. This is thin line. Constitution Article 19 subclause 1 subclause 8 talks about freedom of speech. That is our freedom. But that is equally for everybody. It's not for journalists. But we tend to undermine our role as a responsible democrat. If you see the democracy, there are 4 pillars of democracy. So you will have the government, that is the legislation, the executive, the second pillar. You have the judiciary as the third pillar, and you have the media as the fourth pillar. So unless the media is responsible, you cannot convey a right message to the society, and that is equally important. Because the onus on this particular television channel reporter was that, boss, you are indirectly crossing that thin line, but you are conveying a very strong message out to the masses. I remember the Joint Commissioner Crime had to come down heavily to say that all those journalists who are going to aid and abet such act will be booked under Makoka. And that stringent act was very clear. So, ignorance of bliss is no excuse in the court of law. I can't go to the court saying that, sorry sir, मुझे नहीं पता था. As I was telling Kanu, आप कोर्ट में जाओ, you have no option. Somebody has to use you. Either the prosecution will use or the defense will use. Your content, what you're going to write in, is an admissible evidence in the court of law as a secondary evidence. So this is very challenging part, what it comes in. But that also makes me ask Kanu, in the age of dominated by digital platform and declining attention span that people have today, how can investigative journalism adapt while staying true to its principle?
I mean, it's a huge. I mean, we can talk about this till the cows come home. So, yeah, I think I would have to come back to, just because at the end of the day, as I said, we are all people. The guy we are talking about in the film is also a human being. At the end of the day, it's about which path you choose, which path you want to choose. There is a clear path of courage and honesty and principle. That's one path. The other path is survival and the need to have a acceptable family life, as he said, and everything else that comes with the desire to have a normal life as a human being. तो 2 रास्ते हैं ये. एक रास्ता क्लियरली बहुत ज़्यादा मुश्किल होता जा रहा है, और ज़्यादा मुश्किल होता जा रहा है, because I also wanted to ask you about the foggy nature of the world of crime journalism now. और जो मैं बोल रहा था कहाँ स्टॉप करते हैं, और जो थोड़ा सा वो आया कि कभी कभी ऊपर से भी होता है कि बस अभी, you know, so there are, it is clear that there are these 2 routes that emerge, and you know, whether it was print or whether it's digital now, the ethics or the person at the center of the digital or print world is still the human being, still the reporter, still the guy who's finding out what it is. It's just a medium that's changing. So I think it's still that path, which is, you know, it's the off-trodden path, which is beginning to show certain pebbles or a little bit of fire now. But I mean, you know, my faith is still restored and is deeply with the world of journalism and journalists, because every time something new has been thrown at them, they found a way, you know, to still keep fighting and still keep doing what they want to do. And we are seeing also so many journalists now move to digital media and try to find new ways to be able to say what they want to say. So yeah, that would be my take on it.
One thing, one thing I just wanted to ask all of you. As Kanu has been saying that, you know, at the end of the day, a journalist is a human being, and human frailty is something that we all know. We all know how in any field the greed, the fear, all of these things, and the need, personal need, the family, how much conflict a journalist of this nature will go through, say on a day-to-day basis. This is something, because this is also film talks about. This is also the things which is related to these topics are somewhere become the reason for his fall. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Manoj, you have actually taken up a very interesting point. The major concern is mental health of journalists. This was very evident during the COVID-19 pandemic. So what happened? For the first time, there were informations and disinformations which were there in public domain. And nobody, including journalists, had any clue about what exactly was happening around. Now, for instance, people were talking about using sodium hypochlorite as a chemical that need to be laced on the dead body so that the dead body do not spread COVID virus. This is a myth. But there was a directive from the municipal commissioner saying that like the bodies cannot be buried within the city limit. It has to be buried outside the city limit. There was a reason for that. But because it was also like, sentimental thing, so they said like, no, it has to be finally agreed to be buried in the city. Now the problem here is like when you are lacing a dead body with 3 layers of plastic packet, you are also using sodium hypochlorite for lacing it completely, and then you are burying that. The question comes up is like, boss, the biodegradability of the plastic, it takes 100 long years. You are damaging the environment. So when that issue was brought in, we realized that like it was much more than what we are talking about, because many of the journalists at the same time lost their jobs also. Many a time if you see day in, day out, only murder, crime, you're talking about threats coming in, that psychologically impacts the journalist end of the day, because he's also a human being. So during that COVID, there was a fact-finding committee that was found in, and that fact-finding committee through Mumbai Press Club found out that like many of the journalists had to go through depression. Many of them, especially the freelancers, the photographers, they had to suffer a lot, because unless you are having the regular source of income to clear off your monthly expenses, that was a concern. So this is a problem. I would like Dev and Yasha to throw some light, because they have also gone through, and that is something like where you are still the budding young journalist. So if you can throw that light, and then I'll ask a last question and we can wind up. Yeah. Or you want me to continue this further, Naina? It's a good time. Yeah, it's a good time. We can. Yeah. So if you can throw this light, and then I'll ask the last question.
Rightly so, because that was the time when I made that switch from print to TV, because I don't think any of us could sustain in print for a very long. Even Gautam agrees to it.
I
But,
was laid
yeah.
off during the pandemic.
Yeah,
I lost
exactly.
my job at the height of the pandemic. So
Same, it was, I think, the case with most of us. But when you speak of that thin line that one needs to draw, we of course have families to go back to. So something that we're speaking about. So more recently, if I speak about, it's all white collar crime and cyber crime. I've been for quite some time. And more recently, there was this whole Mahadev app case, which I think all of us know about. And again, like what Vinod sir mentioned, for us on TV, it is all about showing that face. And sometimes when you go ahead, bring that element out, you are on the other end, and you are called by the police saying, "Aap aa jao, aapka statement likhna hai." On the other hand, you're doing your job, but we all come from a family which are normal families. We did not come from journalist families who know what it means. So when I was covering that Mahadev app case, we had a lead that the whole money is going in for terrorism. Like you spoke about Underworld, that money directly, indirectly was linked to Underworld. And having gone ahead, spoken that on air, ran stories on it, there was a defamation notice that went to my editor at Delhi, my editor in Mumbai, and to me. And when you go and take that back home, there's the first thing your parents are saying, what is this? We'll have to go and stand in front of court. And for us, it's absolutely okay, because we are standing in court every single day, right? Just that we're not in the witness box, we're standing there and we know what the whole process is. But of course, for your family, when you see the defamation notice, for them they'll ask you twice saying, why are you all getting into all of this? So yes, I mean, it's a thin line that one maintains. But of course, like Sir said, it's a lot of passion that one requires to continue doing that despite all those hurdles that come your way.
Do you want to add something on this?
Yeah, because since everybody's covered the depression or the health angle, and Yesha's also spoken on something else, like Manoj asked about the morals and the ethics part, I think to begin with, it lays the framework of who you will turn out to be as a human being before being a good journalist. So I think having strong, intact morals is also very closely linked to the kind of journalist you will become, because it also has a very direct and adverse impact on authenticity. If you're an immoral person, you're like, अरे छोड़ना यार, bother कौन करेगा verify या cross check करने का, because in the age of breaking news era, just want to put things out very quickly without really understanding the kind of negative ramifications it may have if the news is wrong. So you have a very responsible role, and where ethics comes into play is after I joined the channel. Right now I work with India Today and Aaj Tak. So many people have come with very shady and dubious requests कि सर आप अपना कैमरा और माइक लेके मेरे ऑफिस आ जाओ. आई सेड और आगे क्या करना है, आगे का ब्रीफ तो बताओ. दे लाइक बस आप आ जाओ, एक जन आएगा, मैंने उसको बुलाया, आप खाली माइक उसकी तरफ कर देना. आई सेड मतलब लाइक वो माइक देख के डर जाएगा, वो आपको इतना इतना पैसा तो ऑन द स्पॉट दे ही देगा. सो आई सेड तो मेरा इसमें क्या है. लाइक नहीं नहीं, ये पैसा आपका है, मुझे उससे बदला लेना है. सो आई सेड, which is where my morals heavily come into play, saying that भाई मैं तुम्हारे लिए थोड़ी ना ऐसा वसूली एजेंट बैठा हूँ. Because what happens is that you spend your entire life trying to achieve that credibility, that immaculate reputation of yours. वो जो तुम एक XYZ amount लोगे अभी के लिए, वो short term pay है, लेकिन उसके बाद होगा long term pay off. You will be paying to the agencies, you will be paying to the courts. इतना वकील पे खर्चा करोगे, तुम्हारी बेल होगी नहीं. अगर वो बेलेबल सेक्शन नहीं हुआ, then you know what is you're going to land up in.
True. So my
It's
last,
also
you want to say something?
yeah, because I have a very personal
true,
story
true, absolutely.
connected to it. I don't know how you forgot this. Taking off from it, he said it helps if you have a supportive or a understanding boss just above you. Back in the Express when I was with them, I spent some 10 months under round the clock police protection at one point, because it began in a quite funny way. Okay, a Bollywood star had a dispute with her partner, and this gangster calls up the office saying कि मैं उसका fan हूँ, तो मुझसे दूर रहना. I'm like, ये script कहाँ से बोल गया? Why is he doing this now? Personal dispute में. So I just started asking around and finding out, and ultimately I wrote a story saying it's just he's trying to get attention, and I used certain words which the people speaking about the gangster had used. I quoted them, and he took offense, and then 2 months later I'm informed that there were certain people near my office, they were looking for me and they have been arrested. उनकी जेब में मेरा फोटो था, उनके पास वेपन था, and so on and so forth. But just after the protection was put into place and I was always accompanied by an armed guard, a month later the same gangster tried to kill someone in an area traditionally ruled by another gangster, old time gangster. So I called up my boss who had left for the day saying कि इसकी हरकतें फिर शुरू हो गई है, let's do one more story saying he's being a wannabe again. And she said कि now you're playing with fire for your ego. You made your point. You told everyone in writing that he is just trying to get attention. Right now you have protection. Right now you have a family to think of. And my mother was actually fighting with me every day saying quit the profession and all. And you want to do it again for what? And she would have stopped to it. But if she had not, I would have maybe done something which would have worsened the situation for everybody, my employer, my family. But that helps a lot to have a supportive
So
person.
we all have a saga to go through. We all have had that experience. But having said that, we have come to the end of our session. But I would like to thank both Kanu and Manoj for sparing the time, coming down over here, making journalists to come and speak out their mind, their heart. And our best wishes for your movie that comes on the 13th. So best wishes. Thank you for coming and making it
Thank
great.
you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much for your insightful anecdotes. We would like Kanu and Manoj sir to also thank you all for your time for coming here and sharing all of those lovely
Oh
anecdotes.
yes, lovely. I mean, for me as an actor, every time all these guys were talking, I was going back to the shoot days and the challenges and all the odd things those were happening, and also the questions that was coming to your mind when you are actually playing it, and when there is a director who has certain answers because he's been part of the R&D. I also feel that hearing you somewhere, I am a little relieved that we were somewhere very close to Kanu's depiction, somewhere very close to what really happens in real life. Also, the one thing that I couldn't ask, greed is one thing, job is one thing, but knowing that there is a risk of losing life, that is another thing. But salute to you all, what you do and how you do. As you said, that you guys are driven by the passion. I just hope that the fourth pillar survives all the oddities, all the obstacles, all the greed, and fourth pillar always stands straight and strong in this country.
Amen to that.
सर यहाँ पे ओके